I recently had a viewer leave a comment asking about reducing the size of a virtual machine's disk. Now, in my Linux virtualization series that I've been going through over the last year and a half or so, I've covered quite a bit about storage, but never covered actually resizing VM storage. And to be honest, it's not a topic I thought a whole lot about, but that was probably because of what I know about data storage. Then I came to the realization that not everyone has the same experience, and there were actual uses for resizing a virtual machine disk. So let's talk about it. This is B from Tay Talk Tech, and today I'm going to talk to you all about resizing KVM VM storage and how to do it. So stick around. I have a favor to ask. If you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts down in the comments below. And lastly, stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. Let's do this thing. And if you just turn around, or well, actually, if I turn around, you mind? My dog. That's Sophie. She's just laying underneath the little chair right there. So just thought I'd point her out. But yeah, just to kind of get on topic here, just to clarify, when I'm talking about, when I say storage, I'm talking about the storage drives attached to VMs that have been created, either at the time of setup or, as you have gone through and configured and managed all of your virtual machines. These are primarily going to be the storage drives assigned to a VM as the OS drive. This will also apply to any additional drive that you've added and created. I'm sorry, created and added or assigned to a VM. And when I talk about resizing, I'm talking about increasing and decreasing the size of a drive. Now, another question that you might have in regards to virtual machine resizing is why would I want to do this? Well, storage management is really one of the big ones. So if your VM is low on storage, you want to make sure it keeps running optimally, or you have to add additional applications or something like that. That is a reason that you may want to increase the amount of storage that is available to that virtual machine. Now, the other side is your host system may only have so much storage that you can allocate. So, maybe you're on a 128 gig like SSD or something like that, and you don't have a lot for virtual machines, so you want to make sure it's allocated optimally. Now, keep in mind that there's many different ways that you can kind of manage storage optimally, but you may get in your head like, hey, maybe I should shrink this volume down because maybe this virtual machine doesn't need 50 gigabytes, or something like that. So, and the next question that you probably have is my data safe? So if you're increasing the size, I want to say most of the time, yes. Like, as long as nothing goes wrong as you're increasing the size, your data should be fine. Now, if you are decreasing the size, I'm going to say no. There is just really no situation where the data is going to be preserved on the drive, or if you just don't really care, like you're like, hey, I'm going to rewrite over this anyway, so I'm just resizing it because I want to shrink the size of it, and I want to keep using the same links that's already attached to the virtual machine, or something like that. That's definitely a valid reason to go ahead and do that. And honestly, I would not recommend decreasing the size of a drive, especially if it's your OS drive, because I've actually done this, and I think it was a Kali Linux virtual machine, and I shrunk the size down. I think it took about like 5 gigabytes or something like that, and then no, it wasn't even that much. It was like 50. I think it was like 50 megabytes, or something like that. And though like the OS booted, but the problem that I ran into is just things weren't working right, and some of the tools weren't running properly because they were missing files, and yeah, it was a huge mess. So just keep that in mind. You know, we can see storage like visually right through many different ways, but the system is looking at it really just as ones and zeros. So it's not really, you're saying like, hey, I need you to decrease this storage device by 50 megabytes. It's going to do that, but it's going to do that in whatever way that it's set up to do that. So it's not going to be done in a way that's going to look to preserve your data or anything like that. So really, really, really think before you're going to try to decrease the size of a virtual machine drive. I would also recommend not doing any kind of resizing on running virtual machines, just because that can cause data corruption. You know, have that data at rest so that you can go ahead and make sure that nothing's being changed, moved around, or anything like that, because that could impact it. Because stuff is constantly being written, removed, deleted, and all that stuff while the operating system is running. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into actually resizing them. So you're probably wondering, well, how do I do that? Well, the good news is that it's really easy how to resize them. And we're actually going to be using one of our old friends, qemu image or img. But before I go ahead and get into that, let's go ahead and just look at the location of the images for virtual machines. At least this is the standard one. And keep in mind that if you set this up, your own way and you have a separate location, keep that in mind that you're going to need to go to that location for your virtual machine images. And we're going to do libvirt and then /images. And here they all are. They're all right here. So this is where they're housed by default if you don't do any kind of configuration to the app, to libvirt and all that stuff when it's set up. Now, the next thing that we want to go ahead and look at is how can we actually check the size of a virtual disk. So that's going to also be done with the qemu-img command. Now, there's other ones that we can use with virsh, but we're going to be focusing on qemu-img today. And that's this one right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do sudo, because this is, we got to make sure that we're adding that because I don't own this disk. qemu-img info, and then we're going to go ahead and put the location of the disk in here. And then we're going to go ahead and enter. And it's going to give us information on the actual sizing of that disk. And we can see right here, virtual size 40 gigabytes, disk size 29.4 gigabytes. So it's, it can go up to 40 gigabytes, but it's currently only 29.4 gigabytes. So let's go ahead and actually get into, increasing the drive that you want to do here. So let's go ahead and clear this out. We're going to go ahead and just do a Control V here. I'm going to go ahead and just put this in. Here we go. Again, we're going to use sudo. We're going to use qemu-img, and this time we're going to go ahead and put in resize because we want to go ahead and change the size of this drive. And then we're going to go ahead and put the location here. So just like we did with that info command. And then we're going to go ahead and put a plus sign, and then you're going to go ahead and specify here how many of whatever increment that you want. G is for gigabytes, T is for terabytes, M is for megabytes, K is for kilobytes. So we're going to go ahead and add 5 gigabytes to this drive. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And then let's go ahead and go back to the info. And we can see now it's showing as 45 gigabytes. So we can see that has increased. Now let's go ahead and remove that same 5 gigabytes. All right, so to go ahead and remove it, we're going to go ahead and just use the sudo command. We're going to use the qemu-img command again. We're going to do resize, but we're going to add an option here. And we need to make sure that we specify shrink when we're actually shrinking the size of these virtual machine disks, because that's basically kind of almost like not only is it telling it to shrink it, but it's also kind of like confirming like, hey, I want to shrink this disk. I know it's not the best thing that I could do, but I really want to go ahead and shrink it, so I accept the consequences of doing that. So we're going to add that shrink on there, add the location of that virtual disk, which is this one right here, and then we're going to go ahead and however much we want to decrease it by. So when you're adding, you're not going to have the shrink on there, but you're going to do a plus, and when you're shrinking it down in size, reducing the size, you're going to do a minus on there to go ahead and specify what it is that you are doing. All right, so let's go ahead and hit enter, and there we go, and it'll just tell you image resize anytime that you do that. So let's go ahead and go back to the info, and there we go. Yeah, everything has been updated with this one. So, and if you look at this, like you can see it like here, I kept it up here this time so we can see, hey, 45 gigabytes, 40 gigabytes. We can see the difference, but we can see that the disk size is still 29.4 gigabytes. So, it looks like it's the same. So again, like keep in mind that, there's a really high chance if you do shrink these disks that you are going to lose data, because it'll all depend on how that data is allocated within that space that's been reserved for that disk. Now, there is one additional thing that you're going to need to do when you're upon resizing it, is you're going to need to go ahead and make sure to adjust the partition sizes to take full advantage of that change. So that is a different process, and that's something a little bit more involved. I'm not going to be covering that in this video. If that's something that you would like covered, definitely let me know down in the comments below, and if there's enough interest, it's something I would definitely consider covering in the future. So QEMU TAC IMG plays a big part in managing VMs on a Linux system. We've used it in other videos, and I plan on doing videos, dedicated, to it in the future directly. So just make sure you're subscribed for that. Make sure to check out this other video, all the other videos from my Linux virtualization playlist, or if you're caught up on that one, check out this other video instead. Remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making them. Thank you so much for watching my video, and have the greatest of days.